Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. A while ago I borrowed some watches from a friend of mine and I've had them forever. Because there have been so many things going on, I just haven't been able to do the reviews of these watches. So tonight, I'm going to begin to rectify that. Tonight we're going to be doing a full review of one of the sports watches that he loaned to me, the Seiko Tuna. And I think this might actually be a baby tuna, I think. As I was scouring the internets, gathering information so I could do the specifications on this watch, I saw an article that was featuring a piece that looked nearly identical to this one, but in a stainless steel variant. And it was described as the baby tuna. So the watch that we're reviewing tonight is the SRP 641. And yeah, I should double check to see if that is actually a baby tuna versus a tuna. So let's get started. And here is the SRP 641. And I just double checked, this is indeed the baby tuna. That's right, I know my Seikos. This is such a beast of a watch. It's super heavy, super chunky. I like the murdered out aesthetic, especially with this orange strap. It's very Halloween colors. So the lugs on this watch are pretty short, which means that even though it's large, it doesn't have a gigantic wingspan to it. These are drilled lugs. Because they're so short, they are a bit snug. However, it isn't super terrible trying to thread this thing through them. As you can see here, not too bad at all. I've definitely owned watches that are way tighter between the spring bar and the case, where it's almost impossible to get a NATO strap through it. You have to really pull that thing through. Not the case with these. Here is the case back. We have the tsunami wave there. Prospects. So this is their professional diving line. You put this back on. Looking at the sides of the case, we have kind of a rivet here, as well as over here. And I mentioned in my impressions video of this watch, every time I glance down at it, my brain tells me that these are chronograph pushers or something similar, but they are not. We have a crown at the 4 o'clock, done in gold. Just like these rivets. It's a screw down crown. Let's see what that is like to operate. It's pretty snug. And you can manually wind this movement. Let's pop this out. It feels great when you're setting the time. Nice and smooth. As you can see, it's a day date watch. So let's see that in action. There, the date is starting. And it flipped over just before midnight. And here goes the day. It flipped once and then to Saturday right about here. So the entire transition operation will go from about 11-ish to 4 in the morning. Let me get these out of the way and we'll manually set the date. Pop this out to the first position. So turning it clockwise, we'll change the day. And counterclockwise for the date. Those click over really well. Very nice. This movement hacks, as you can see there. And get these hands reset. Pop this back in. And we'll see what it's like to screw in the crown. Yeah, not bad. So with the Tuna watches, we have this metal casing that surrounds the bezel as sort of a protection from having it moved inadvertently. You can see that the bezel lines up pretty well. Let's try operating it. Does this bezel even move? Okay, so I was going to show the bezel action, and it doesn't move at all. So I actually had to cut the video, go hit YouTube for a little bit. I saw a bunch of videos suggesting using oil on your bezels. One thumbnail had WD-40 on it. The Time Teller and Merly on Time both had videos on stuck bezels. Merly did the oil technique, and the Time Teller actually soaked his in a bowl for a day. I don't recall what was in that bowl, but a bunch of sand came out and he was actually able to turn that bezel. This is not my watch, so we don't get to see the bezel in action, because that is just not moving. One would think that this is actually a fixed bezel, but I also encountered some videos about taking the shroud off, so you can actually unscrew these and opt for wearing this watch without it. It does look weird without that case around it. Yeah, but that's a great looking bezel on this watch. Being black DLC, the stark white looks pretty cool. The markers in the hands are great. And as you can see, they're loomed, which you would expect. This is a dive watch. Let's see how that loom performs. And there you have it. That is some bright loom. There's a lot of it there. Let's see how it holds up here for a moment. I'll have to start doing some time-lapse loom shots. You can see it's kind of fading a little. But yeah, I would guess this would probably go for, I don't know, 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour. It's still glowing a bit there. As for the specifications on this watch, the case size is 47 millimeters, the case height is 13 millimeters, the lug to lug is 50 millimeters, the lug width is 22 millimeters, the crystal on these is Hardlex, they have 200 meters of water resistance, and the movement inside these watches is the 4R36. And I think you could track these down for about $200 and something to $300, somewhere around there. I saw a listing for one on Joma Shop, but it was sold out. Alright, so let me take off the Moto Kata. This is a watch that will be available for trade as soon as I do its full review. Super unique chronograph watch. I put it on this strap, a Dan Henry that I had laying around, and those hinged lugs kind of settle down after a while once this watch has been on the wrist, so they aren't just sticking straight out like in the first video I did of this watch. I love how unique this is. That is so cool. All right, let me take this off and let's check out the baby tuna when it's on the wrist. I'm actually going to do 2 different wrist shots. So you can see that this is a double pass NATO. So it's kind of thick with both layers down here. And this is already a pretty tall watch. But I'll put it on the wrist as is, and then I will make this a single pass strap and show you how it looks when it's actually hugging your wrist. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. My wrist is 55 millimeters wide. And you can see how tall that is. This has got to be one of the toughest watches I've had in my possession. I used to own a Marathon G-SAR, and that was a tank, but man, this thing is just 100% tool, just super rugged. Let's see what it looks like on a single pass NATO. So you can get an idea when it's closer to the wrist. It would be even more so if you decide to put a 2-piece strap on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this part off like that. It's going to be going over here. And I'm going to run this through these loops and then through the buckle. So here it is through these. Then I just put it through the buckle as well. There. And there we go. Now it's nice and snug to my wrist. The bulk of this strap is underneath here. Personally, I usually convert all my NATOs to single pass. So I would cut the second pass off and then just melt where I had cut it so it doesn't fray. But this works if you don't want to modify your straps at all. I like this colorway. I feel like it makes it look even tougher. This is a crazy watch. I'm glad I've gotten to experience one of the tunas or baby tunas in person. There you have it, a full review of this absolute tank of a watch. Thanks for watching.